Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Naval Sports League. My name is Lemerck. I am so excited to be here with you on week 17 of the Naval Sports League alongside my good friends and co-hosts, Warbleworth and Amit. Gentlemen, say hello to your adoring fans out there in the wide world of Naval.
Hello there.
Hey
All
there,
right.
Emma checking in. Always happy to be here.
All right. So today, week 17, we have the Leviathans versus the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. This is going to be the first of our last 4 games of the NSL preseason. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time or don't know what I'm talking about, the preseason is sort of our test season before we get to the real deal season 1 that begins in around February of next year. The preseason was a way for us to sort of test out some of the ideas of the NSL and make sure this whole operation runs. And so far, I would say that it's been a pretty great success with a lot of excellent battles, great commentary from my friends here, Amit, Warble, and many others. We've had some highs, we've had some lows, we've had some great battles, we've had a few not so great battles, but always it has been interesting to watch. And I hope you have enjoyed it and you keep tuning in with us. Let's talk a little bit about today's battle. Warble, would you introduce today's battle, our contestants, and the map to our friends out there listening in?
Sure. So today we have the Jackals of the Baltic Sea, which is currently, I believe, in the standings, the lowest standing of the teams. By the way, I should mention that at the moment, every single team in this league has played 4 matches. And
Yes.
everyone will play one more match. So for everyone coming now, that's what Merck said with the 4 final matches. This will be their final match in this preseason. So they won't have any more fighting this year after that. So the Jackals have won 1 game so far, very closely, I might add, by just 300 points by points 2 weeks ago against the Royal Black Fleet. And they have lost 3 games. And the Leviathans have won 3 and lost 1 by, well, forfeit basically, or well, by rules, but they actually won points wise. So they are the Leviathans currently in standings, the highest standing team, and the Jackals the lowest in the whole league.
I just want to make a quick correction on you on that one. I think you're mistaking the Jackals for the VOD Coalition, for who fought the Royal Black Fleet to a very close draw or a very close thing. The Jackals
No,
last one was against the SCP 38. Oh no, I am wrong.
no,
I'm sorry. On the 11th, I'm sorry, on the 3rd, they did fight the Royal Black Fleet. My
yep,
correction must be corrected. Sorry about that.
yep.
You were right. Never,
Uh,
never doubt Warble when it comes to his stats.
except when you should. Right. So the just to quickly introduce the teams, the Leviathans are made up of a single regiment, which is X, the Lemerck's pirate fleet. And they will, as all teams are today, be joined by some mercenaries from all the other teams and some who aren't competing in a dedicated team at all. And the Jackals are a composite team. They are made up of originally 3 and at the moment 4 regiments, because one of their constituent regiments split during the season. So they are made up of the 17D, the 3D, the 9PP, and the 5FMK. 9PP and 5FMK are formerly known as 19PP. So these are all Polish regiments, I believe. And yeah, together they make up the Jackals of the Baltic Sea. They didn't have the best track record so far, as I mentioned. And in the last match, which they won by points by being very careful, very cautious, basically, and just trying not to get sunk, which worked, right? But today, I think the Leviathans have very experienced captains. That's like one of the main 2 things they're good at, captaining and gunnery, which are, well, really important. So I don't think they will succeed in evading them. So they will have to fight, and I can't wait to see the gunnery and the maneuvering today. So you also asked me to introduce the map, which is Actium. We have seen quite a bit of this map. Actium, Leviathans have fought the Kraken team on Actium, and we had it before where the Jackals also fought the Kraken team, so both of them know this map. It has some longish islands and some very small islands, and we've already heard today that the Jackals will have the starting wind advantage today. We will mention this later again, but today the Leviathans will play on the French team and the Jackals on the British, with the Leviathans French ships being green and the Jackals British ships being yellow. Right, that's it from me for now.
All right. Well, then let's turn it over to Amit. And Amit, let me tell the audience a little bit about what you expect to see out of the battle today.
That's a good question to bring up because typically in the past, what we've seen, the general posture of the Leviathan's fleet has been quite aggressive, especially if they have that, uh, that leaning towards the advantage of having the wind on their side. We've observed that they've tried to really close the distance on their opponents very quickly and negate the enemy's ability to even get out of their spawn and become comfortable and create formations where they can properly receive Leviathan's fleet. Now, on the flip side, with the Jackals of the Baltic Sea, as Orville Worth just mentioned, they played only just 2 weeks ago. Normally, these teams don't get to play, in a capacity where they're the primary team. It's once a month, so these guys are going to be a little bit more poised. Yes, they played very carefully, I guess you would say, um, in their previous match. The Jackals did, I think, crucially keep they recognize the value of their 13 gun flagship, and that's what allowed them to stay alive and stay in the game for so long in the previous match, where they basically just focused down the enemy's flagship. So I expect to see them do the same today. I don't know what kind of aggression or kind of posture they're going to assume. Um, I could only imagine they know how aggressive the Leviathans could be, but also adaptable the Leviathans could be. But also, we've seen in subsequent matches or previous matches that the Jackals can be very pliable with their own tactics as well, and they are not afraid to mess things up. They do tend to keep a clean formation, at least in the initial portions of the battle. Um, what we're going to see here today is really a toss up. I don't know what we're going to see in the face of such odds against an opponent like the Leviathans. I hope to see more aggression, to be honest with you, and see a really good battle. Time will tell, guys. Time will tell.
Yeah, I think the verdict of the community was that the last game that the Jackals participated in was a bit of a passive play scenario, and a lot of people were not hugely they were not a big fan of that. I think it's not great for viewing, but it's also, it didn't create any kind of general difference in the point scenario for them. I mean, we are, like Warble said earlier, we are seeing the lowest ranked team in the league versus the highest ranked, currently at least, team in the league. Now there's room for maneuvering and changes at the top between the Krakens and the Leviathans, but right now, point standing, the Leviathans are top of the league, and so for the Jackals to really make the statement and the end of the season last hurrah that they need to, this has got to be an overwhelming victory for them, and so there can be no passive play from either of these teams, because not only do the Jackals have a real impetus to rack up the point totals on their behalf, but obviously the Leviathans want to beat out the Krakens at the end of the season as points wise the number one team, and to do that they're going to need an overwhelming victory over the Jackals. So I think the Leviathans, and I think probably, I mean, please tell me if you don't, but I think most are agreed here that this is looking like it's probably going to be a victory for the Leviathans, just based off of past performance and point differences and everything that we've seen. And so this creates the exciting opportunity for the Jackals to really surprise us here. Now, being the normal admiral of the Leviathans, it may surprise some of you guys that I am here commenting today, but it is not the first time that I have had the Atticus, who is our admiral today, take over for us against some of the teams. He is an extraordinary admiral, and he has a plan today, which I will elucidate for you guys as we go through today's battle. But specifically, what I want you guys to look out for is the potential for an envelopment from the Leviathans. I won't say much more about that in case we have any spies listening in from the other team, but an envelopment is what the Leviathans are looking to do. However, the wind not being in their favor today, the wind going northeast today, which favors the Jackals, could put a damper on any plans for the Leviathans to get in there.
All right. May I just quickly, as we now have the match started, the ships are moving, and we can see the overhead view in stream. So I just want to take a second to point out again, wind is going into a northeasterly direction, which is the bottom right corner of your screen. And on the left of your screen, you see the yellow fleet. That's the British, manned by the Jackals. And on the right, you see green ships. That's the Leviathans. And so the Jackals basically could take the wind directly into the round islands in the foreground with the wind, or they maybe can turn against the wind slightly, or like 90 degrees with the wind into the longish islands in the background. And it looks like the Leviathans have taken out 2 gunboats, which are today crewed by Safe and Link Nito, as far as I know, and going 90 degrees to the wind, also into the roundish islands. And they have their 8 guns quite cautiously turning very steeply east out of spawn, and their flagship in the rear. Right.
Yeah, Amit, I'm seeing that the Jackals are not really moving very hastily out of their spawn in any way, whereas the Leviathans are getting the best win that they can get nice and early on. How do you predict that that's gonna? Where do you think that this battle is gonna happen on this map?
That's a good question. I mean, the wind, as we know, is going to the northeast. So, from what I can see coming out the gate, the Jackals are positioning themselves to move to the west northwest. That will give them some flexibility towards once they get to the middle of the map, to cut east or northeast and use some of that wind.
Yeah.
I think what they're trying to do currently is just kind of read what the Leviathans are doing. Um, right now, the Leviathans are moving to mainly the east of the map, and then it
they are
looks like
very
the first
I
ship
think you
is
can see by
cutting
that
there.
lead ship that they are not going to be going that direction for long.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly
they are
seems
following.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so perhaps the Leviathans had predicted that the Jackals would use the wind advantage. I mean, at least that's what a lot of us would do, to at least close the distance if they wanted to get aggressive. As I was, talking about just a few minutes ago, it certainly seems to not be the case. Um, I still think the Jackals are eventually going to pull back to the east at some point. At least that's what I would hope they would do, grab some of that wind and close in and get themselves sorted out. I just want to mention that as far as the boats that the Jackals are using here,
Oh,
they've
yeah.
taken out 1 gunboat as well as 1 rocket boat, and they're
Oh,
all going in the
interesting.
same direction. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. While the Leviathans have thrown their gunboats far out into the front of
exactly.
their fleet, a very aggressive stance, because they want maximum points. And I'm pretty sure that Safe and Link have the instructions to just cause maximum points difference by firing at anything they can see, but especially, of course, at the opposing boats. And so far, the Leviathan's boats have usually won in the melee that ensues between these small boats.
Yeah, the Leviathan doctrine generally is take out the enemy's boats, because when you take out the small boats first, it ends up creating a sort of delayed return from those boats to the battlefield, right? So if the Leviathan's 2 gunboats can take out 1 enemy gunboat, that gunboat then has to travel from the Jackal spawn back into the battle. Meanwhile, the Leviathan's gunboats take out the next gunboat, and then they sort of delay and stagger the return of those boats to a 1 at a time situation, which gives them the gunboat advantage. And then in the interims between those boats arriving, they can then turn on the main fleet and put damage in, because they've got half the cannons of an 8-gun just between the 2 of them. And that's usually how they gain the advantage over other gunboat crews and other fleets in general, and just rack up that point difference.
Yeah, I do want to mention the formations, because the Leviathans are basically in 3 lines. They have the gunboats closest to the enemy, then they have 1 line of 8 guns all in 1 line, and then they have their flagship, their 13 guns, set behind, like 200 meters or so that it can keep out of range of most of the enemies, at least 8 guns, if it comes to an engagement. Which is generally good, because you really want that flagship to survive longer than the enemy's flagship. Well, the Jackals have all their ships in 1 line with the flagship in the middle, which gives it more opportunity to hit all targets it likes, but also get hit much more easily. And
Now,
Jackals are turning in.
Yeah, this is a bit of a dangerous situation for the Leviathans. They are at this moment dead against the wind, and so the Jackals will have the opportunity to turn to their starboard as they are doing now, and put some pressure on the Leviathans in a way I don't think that Atticus wants right now. Atticus is thinking a lot about offense, but he's going to have to start switching his perspective to defense. Whereas Katsub, the admiral of the Jackals, is in a position to maybe either cut in front if they go across this middle sort of horizontal pill-shaped island. They could cut in front of the Jackals and get a really good start to this battle for themselves. And the Jackals' only real opportunity here is they have to turn to the port and get some cannons in. We'll see how confident the Jackals are about their aggressive posture. And it does look like they might be going around.
Yeah, they're turning to starboard there.
Yeah, they seem to be more a little bit more cautious, and they're going to go around the lighthouse that you can see on the pill-shaped island closest to the viewer if you're looking on the overhead.
First shots have been fired and hit by both sides. Yeah, both sides. The boats of the Leviathans are shooting across that pill-shaped island, while the Leviathans' carronade, the Jackals' carronade has landed some hits.
Yeah, great use from the Leviathans boats there with the island just to cover their profile a little bit. As the Jackals fleet come around that island, that is something they're going to have to be worrying about. But I can already see some of those boats backing up and getting ready to reposition. So,
yeah, and Leviathans are trying to make this turn here against the wind in a line to hopefully have a line of 8 guns to present the enemy once they get around that island. And the 13 gun is really struggling here to make that turn.
This did not go. This did not go the way that Atticus had planned, and I think the wind was always going to be a factor in stopping him from charging in and getting the kind of envelopment that he wanted to get early. There was a lot of confidence coming in from the Leviathans about this battle early on, but right now, as it stands, the Jackals have the better fleet formation.
Yeah,
and
they do have
right off the bat
early success.
Yeah, great shots, good hits from the first few Jackal ships on that lead 8 gun from the Leviathans.
Yeah, captained by Jugan, by the way.
Oh, but this is developing into this. Okay, so what we're seeing here, guys, this is the envelopment. This is the envelopment. Now, here's the way that this is going to play out. Those 2 8 guns, unless Atticus calls them back into the line, which he may be doing right now, we're thinking the reason they're all set back behind the Leviathan fleet is they were thinking about cutting across behind the Jackals fleet. And what would have happened there is that the Leviathan's front 3 ships, they would have stopped to hold the Jackal ships in position while those 2 cross around behind. But I think at this point, what you're seeing is when those 2 rearmost French ships, the rearmost Leviathan ships, are coming in around now, I think that Atticus, the admiral, has decided, I don't want to do this. I don't want to take the risk. It's too risky to send those guys around behind that pill-shaped island, between that channel. Instead, he's sending his gunboats, as you can see, behind there. And that will be good. But right now, the Leviathans are losing.
Yeah, Jugan's front 8 gun here is getting pummeled. And it should be noted that it is being shot also by the enemy's 13 gun.
Absolutely.
So they are all focusing on that one, everyone in range at least, while the Leviathans are focusing fire, it looks like, at the Jackal's flagship, at the 13 gun. Which they can do because it is in line and not set back like the Leviathan's flagship. And, oh, look at that, Jugan, already almost down to half health now, angling his 8 gun in. Going closer.
He's focusing fire entirely on that 13 gun, and the Leviathans are right to do so. They have already gotten the enemy's 13 gun down to, I'd say, 3/4 HP.
Yeah, roundabout.
But Jugan's ship is going to go down and fast here, unfortunately, because he's in such a bad position. Now, this is where the Jackals fleet, this island, this circular island that they're at, that's where the Jackals fleet could have some serious issues. And Jugan, a very ballsy captain, may just bum rush these 2 ships and collide with them just to interrupt the fleet. And again, this is where the Jackals organization breaks down a little bit here. The 13 gun is already down to half HP. That is huge. And here's Amjigan with the action.
ram.
He is slamming in to the first two ships. He knows his ship is in serious danger anyway. Why not use it to disrupt the enemy fleet and let the rest of his fleet get into position? And
Wow,
so
he's
he has,
What
in
a
between.
power move.
yeah.
He just pinned those two ships and he's
Yeah,
still going.
And they have now no rotation on anything really that matters here. Atticus has got to turn his flagship a little bit to port, get those cannons in rotation of the enemy 13, and let it rip. Because we could see that the Jackals flagship could go down any minute if they just get a real concentration of fire on them. The Jackals are still focusing on Amjigan, but Amjigan is not the guy to be focusing on at this point.
he's
Jugan is
beaching.
crashing
Hey,
into an
my
island,
prediction.
probably because he has no crew. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this. The Jackal ship is now going to cut in the middle of the Leviathan line here. Now the Jackals are kind of doing exactly what Jugan did to them and sending a ship to stop the rear two Leviathan ships from engaging in this line battle. Now we have an opportunity where the tables may have turned, because now it will be 2 Leviathan ships versus possibly 4 Jackal ships. So this could be very bad for the Jackal's flagship if those ships focus fire on Atticus's flagship. Wow, now a Jackal ship ramming a Leviathan ship.
Yeah,
So
my
you
goodness.
get what you give when it comes to ramming, because once these fleets get shaken up like this, they really, really, really,
Yeah,
once you lose that cohesion, anything can happen.
that's
Now,
Killam's ship, by the way, that got collided with here.
mhm,
And I can't see who
and
the
he's taking
captain
it to the
of the
island.
Jackals is because he got grape-shotted off the helm. So the Jackals are currently without a captain on that
Yeah,
ship.
Killam's ship and that ship are now in the island. They are crashed into an island, and they are going to
Yeah,
be out for a significant amount of time
and
while we get
Jugan's ship has gone down. So the
right.
Leviathans have lost their first ship, while the Jackals have only lost 2 boats so far. But they have
Yeah.
lost 2 boats, while the Leviathans have not lost none.
Right now, at this wall, the Jackals have a far superior force to bear. What they need to do is really put a lot of damage into Atticus's flagship to make up for the damage that the Leviathans have put in to Katsub's. I assume Katsub is capturing his flagship. I don't actually
No, he
know.
is not. It's Milogic.
Okay, well then Milogic's flagship, which is very, very low right now, and it will be a huge morale boost for the Leviathans to see that flagship go down. So the Jackals have really got to put the damage into that flagship, and they have every capability to do so. On the other hand, the other part of this battle, we can see that the 2 Leviathan 8 guns have now, one of them has disentangled itself from a Jackal's 8 gun, and they are going to just sit there and take it out. I don't know if this risk is worth it. I am shocked to see that the Jackals are firing into an 8 gun instead of the enemy flagship. That is strange to me. You have 4 ships, and they are not firing at all into the Leviathan's flagship, and that is a critical mistake, because this is the only time they're going to have uninterrupted fire and overwhelming firepower against Atticus's flagship, and they are not using it. All right. Well, we do have a second.
Yep.
Am I correct? Is that a
Yes,
second
that is the
8 gun
second
down?
Leviathan 8 gun down.
Wow.
Indeed.
All right. Now maybe I was wrong. Maybe they knew exactly what they were doing here, because if that is leaving
the lead, yeah.
Atticus alone with 4 ships firing at him, that is really, really bad.
No, 3, because the Jackal's flagship just went down.
Well,
And
that's
still has more than half of health and basically all guns, including the bow carronade crewed by Seawolf today.
But it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be a little bit of time before he gets any backup here. You don't want even 3 8 guns against a 13 gun is not a great place to be. Let's see how it comes out here.
And he has, in theory, a 4th 8 gun behind him still up, right?
That's right.
Against
I think
that
that ship does not look like it's doing anything anytime soon. It is locked down by that Leviathan ship that is directly behind it.
And the Jackals, one of the Jackals 8 gun is fleeing with its stern to Atticus.
It's very likely lost a lot of ships on its port side.
But
really, it should, whatever, if it had even a single cannon left, it should not have turned away.
Yeah, no, that's the backboard it's Christo Canoni on the helm of that. And also Milozic has respawned on that. And they have, they have lost all but 1 cannon on port.
Well, no matter what, I don't even care if it's just 1 cannon. You turn that cannon in and you shoot it.
So
it's just looking like another situation in which the Leviathans have gotten real bad news in the beginning of the battle, but they may turn it around in the second half. Amit, what are you seeing here? What are you thinking?
Well, I've got my eye on Killam's ship here. He's running an 8 gun that's coming right on the rear. He's going to have raking fire on every one of those Jackals ships right now. It's not a good place for them to be. They've done nothing to prevent this from happening. They've just been locked down in combat with that Leviathan 13 gun. And as you said just 2 minutes ago, that's not a great place to be. It's not enough firepower to take down the 13 gun in the time that they have, and now they are paying the price for not targeting that 13 gun earlier. And uh, it may not work out for them here. They are pulling out, it looks like, slowly. But yeah, that 1-8 gun
Yeah.
with its sails up from the Jackals seems determined to go down fighting.
All right, looks like these 8 guns that are against the 13 gun are now pulling out. They have smelled blood. They can escape from the 13 gun, from Atticus' 13 gun, and they can turn all of their cannons on a lone and isolated Leviathan 8 gun that was trying to cross around behind their line. And I think they're going to do so. I think it's going to be to quite a devastating consequence. Now, the Leviathans have a half up 13 gun and 2 completely full 8 guns. The Jackals have 1 completely full 8 gun, 1 mostly good 8 gun, and 2 almost completely destroyed 8 guns. One of them surely is the one that's just pinned against that island.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that means that group of 3 out there are 2 very strong 8 guns and a very weak 8 gun versus a completely full 8 gun.
Yeah.
I wondered, Warble, have you been keeping an eye on how the gunboats are influencing this battle?
Well, the Leviathan's gunboats, one of them has gone down actually, so that's unusual. And the Jackals have taken out 2 more boats, 1 gunboat and 1 rocket boat again, their second set, and are now using them against that lone Leviathan's 8 gun, which I believe is what did it kill him? No.
Yeah,
Is it?
kill him. Yeah, he's going to have a few problems here to deal
Yeah.
with, given the proximity of these gunboats.
Treehouse is the one pinning. Yeah.
What's so interesting is the Leviathan ship that was pinning that lone isolated ship to the island left before it sunk that ship. So obviously Atticus is feeling some
Treehouse,
serious
by the way.
pressure. Some serious pressure to get both of his 8 guns back into the battle. He no longer feels like he can afford to have a whole 8 gun pinning down just 1 8 gun. But that's going to give that inexplicably surviving 8 gun from the Jackals the opportunity to put some damage in.
Yeah, though Atticus is probably in rotation with his 13 gun right now and hopes.
Well, he's certainly getting there. Oh yeah, he is. Yes, he is. And there you go. He's gonna finish that ship. And
to move and then...
I agree. I think that it's a great plan. But he needs to get those 8 guns into the battle, because if it's Killam who's the isolated 8 gun, he is taking a pounding.
Yeah, he is.
He's down to half ship HP.
He's
now
been hit by rockets and 3 8 guns. That's
I mean, listen, he is basically okay. And I still think that the Leviathans have the advantage here, but safe to say, this is not going to be the blowout that they wanted by any means. And it's going to be a little while before anybody...
The second Jackal's gunboat has gone down.
Uh-huh.
So they have currently a rocket boat active and whatever they pull out of spawn next.
Yeah, as usual, the Leviathans are winning the gunboat contest.
All right.
And there goes down that 8 gun.
Yeah,
that was pinned to the island earlier.
Yeah.
Atticus is taking care of it. But the time it has taken for Atticus to take care of it means that he is not really 100% in this battle right now. He has the opportunity to pick off the rearmost of those 3 Jackals 8 guns, but he's going to have trouble catching up with the rest of these rest of this action.
He just sunk with Seawolf's carronade. The other super damaged 8 gun that was
there you go, and that is for right now probably the most he's going to be able to do here. Those Jackals need to press forward. They cannot stop moving. The fact that some of them are at half sail is a huge error there.
They're against the wind though, and one of them has the square sail set, and the other one has only 1 sail set.
Oh my god! Well, that shows really, unfortunately, bad captaining and the lack of understanding of the wind can really change things here. However, Killam is getting walloped right now. He is now below half HP. Treehouse is trying to come in. He is not necessarily really making any difference in the fight right now, and Atticus is not really making any difference in the fight right now. The Jackals have two very healthy 8 guns. They certainly can bring this down to the wire. That much is for sure. They can certainly bring this down to a 2v2 scenario. But
Oh yeah.
if it's 2v2, Leviathans win because they still have their flagship. And so
That's
I don't
right.
think Atticus is really sweating bullets right now. He knows he can still afford to lose a ship and still come out on top.
Yeah.
But he's got to get into this battle.
It's, by the way, it's Kasper Lutz and Mickey, the two captains of the Jackals, who are still up.
I just want to point out really quickly that Killam has deployed a boat, a rowboat from his ship, consisting of Mr. Scott, Shadow, and Jackson Taylor from the X. And they look like they are going to head off those two 8 guns to the south from the Jackals. I'm not certain the Jackals are paying attention to that right now. That could be an issue for the boats that are coming out of the Jackal spawn right now. They could really be to hang up those ships and prevent them from getting in there and doing more damage to kill them and the remaining Leviathan ships.
Yeah, because
But I believe you're right in that assessment. Atticus has no reason to really be having heart palpitations right now, given that he's still got his 13 gun. It's got a lot of HP on it still.
Yeah, I think that 13 gun could probably finish off those two 8 guns remaining by itself.
Yeah,
or at least it would be a very close battle. The thing here is that I'm really wondering is why the heck are the Leviathan 8-gun captains still moving forward? They have no reason to want to draw this battle further away from their 13 gun. They should be stopped. They should be sitting and allowing, because if they stop, the enemy, to keep their range and the rotation on them, also has to at least slow down. And that will give the 13 gun the opportunity to get back into this battle. As it stands right now, the 8 guns have every opportunity to lose this battle. In which case, then Atticus and his 13 would have to finish the battle for them.
Yeah, and you can't come up against the wind there. It's super slow.
But yeah, so the 8 guns, the Leviathan 8 guns should be cutting their sails and holding a position so that Atticus can catch up, and they're not doing that, and I think they're not doing that to their detriment.
Yeah, by the way, the Jackals have their 2 last boats active, 1 rocket boat, 1 gunboat, so they've always taken them out in pairs, 1 rocket, 1 gunboat, and they're using them all on Killam's lead 8 gun here, which is down...
He's not even really focusing on anything anymore. Like, Killam is purely in evasive maneuvers. And it is not a good look.
There's the last Jackal's boat that's still alive is now a rocket boat, while the Leviathans have only lost 1 gunboat so far and have 2 gunboats in pursuit of that one.
Yeah, that's the same old story for the Leviathan.
Yeah, there we go. Last Jackal's boat is down.
We are now seeing a boarding action on the rear of the ship. Oh, okay, actually, it was just defeated. Never mind. The flagship of the Leviathans just did beat off a boarding action.
Oh well. Yeah. So Killam is breaking away, and he has and so both of them are breaking away at this point.
Yeah.
Now that they have gunboat superiority and they've dealt with all the gunboats, I think the Leviathans realize we have to reconnect our fleet together. There is no reason that we should be doing a 2v2 8-gun battle. And so there they are. They're gonna draw the battle back to the 13 gun, and they're gonna win. But wow, I have to say this. I don't want to give the obituary yet for the Jackals. They do look like they're not going to probably pull it out on this one, but a way better battle than I think anybody was thinking these guys were going to deliver to the Leviathans. And so whatever happens from here on out, I think the Jackals have to be praised for really coming in strong, keeping a great formation, and pressuring the hell out of the Leviathans from basically a moment of contact.
Looking at points, some good shooting.
Yeah.
Though I have to note that most of the highest scoring players on the British team are mercenaries.
Well, sometimes it is like that.
But of course, also they put a lot of mercenaries on their boats, and they were getting stuck in all the time with rockets and so on, and getting a lot of points. So
that's right. I mean,
wouldn't be too harsh on the Jackal.
What we've learned throughout the preseason is that the boats are just point machines.
And I think that is why they stayed in that 2v2 situation so long, because they wanted to draw out the boats. They wanted to actually, get all the Jackal's boats down before closing this battle, because they wanted to go for points. So they didn't want to finish too early, basically, and maybe try to get out more points. Though, of course, it's point difference that counts. And by staying in that 2v2, you're getting a lot of shots on your side, hitting you, and that reduces the point difference again because that gives the Jackals points, right? So I'm not quite sure.
So
I would
we
have
haven't-
stayed further away as the Leviathans basically stayed closer together and further away from these 8 guns. But who knows?
Yeah, we're in a situation here where it is now the 2 8 guns versus the 13 guns. That is not a battle that the Jackals really want. The Leviathans, their 8 guns in reconnecting with the 13 gun kind of overshot it. Honestly,
Oh,
they
yeah.
passed it by each other, and there's no real cohesion here. Those 2 8 guns are going to get left behind, and that will give the Jackals a sort of opportunity to really pressure the 13 gun. But the 13 gun's got a lot of HP, and I don't.
Atticus just got shot off the helm
Ooh,
at 400 meters.
ooh, a great moment would be right now for those 2 8 guns to stop, because those few seconds where Atticus is not turning his cannons back into rotation, it could have. I think that moment is past already. It's only a
Yeah,
very brief moment.
probably
But
has the booth on the helm by now.
yes, that's right. He has his 6th gunner, who is already default one to the helm and take over in an emergency. They're not really doing the Jackals any damage to this 13 gun. Amit, are you seeing anything that we're not seeing out there about how the
Not
Jackals could pull through
necessarily.
here?
I mean, I'm just thinking about like if I can see the shots landing from the Jackals and they're a little bit short. Could you guys envision a world where these 2 Jackal ships do actually manage to take down that 13 gun? For me, right now, from what I'm seeing, I cannot. I just do not see the fire output. I do not see the accuracy.
Well,
And
Yeah,
you could
there's one
see
down.
these shots coming in from the Leviathan's 13 gun. They're coming in volleys, like 2 sets of volleys, and they're
Yeah.
not missing their shots.
The only way they could have won, I think, is if they had destroyed the 13 gun's cannon. So if they wiped out
yeah,
all the cannons on
yeah.
the 13 gun
Yeah.
broadside,
If they,
that could have
if
done
they
it
had
for
to
them.
turn, yeah.
But we're not in that situation right now. We're in a situation right now where it is 3-on-1, and as has happened before, the Leviathans take an early setback and they turn it into a late game triumph, and that's what we're going to see here
Yeah, we're gonna
from
see
my beautiful Leviathans. God bless you all.
We see some slaughter here with the survivors from the Jackals 8 gun in a rowboat engaging the 2 gunboats of the Leviathans.
You know, those
That's
gunboats,
gonna be
they don't do a lot
Ooh.
when they're matched, but once they're unopposed, they
Yeah.
really do damage. This 8 gun is going to have a little bit of fun for maybe a second, thinking that it
Yeah.
might be able to get behind the flagship, but it is never going to survive. It is about to go down in moments, mere moments. And with 3
Yeah,
minutes and
definitely the
45
death
seconds on the
throes for
clock,
the
we are going to
Jackals.
see a Leviathan victory right here, right now.
Yeah, win condition, all ships sunk in 3, 2, 1.
And there
There
it
we go.
is. Right on
Wow.
time. That's some serious German efficiency right there. Well done, Wormworth.
All
Well,
right.
that's a Leviathan win in their last battle of the season versus the Jackals of the Baltic Sea, also their last battle of the season. The Jackals of the Baltic Sea, I would say, and tell me if you guys agree, put in a hell of a battle against the #1 team in the league right now, but it was not enough. Some amazing ramming actions in the center shook up the battle, and it looked like after that craziness, the Leviathans recovered and the Jackals did not. And I think a lot of it also had to do with the Jackals not taking the opportunities that they had to just focus every single cannon on that 13 gun when they had the chance, whereas the Leviathans will always hunt down your 13 gun and take it down as quickly as possible. And I think that's what set them apart. What do you think? Let's start with Amit.
Well, it's clear from the outset. We were saying the same thing. Why are they not targeting the 13 gun? It really comes down to that. You just said it. I can't really go on anymore about that. Now, I did the calculation really quickly. The Leviathans are up 13,153 points over the Jackals of the Baltic Sea at the end there. That's a good sum to add on because the Krakens have the same current record in terms of wins losses to Leviathans. So it's really crucial to get those more points should you end up tying the same amount of wins that they do. So for the Jackals, I think they put up an extremely good fight. Like you could just see from the outset they had a good plan going in, and you said it really well in the mid match. Things were not going the way Atticus wanted initially, but it goes back to what I keep talking about when it comes to Leviathans, the adaptability. Things don't go their way, no problem. They shift gears. And then I love that moment when Amjugan took his ship and just crossed through those two Jackal ships that unwisely moved away from their own formation. Um, but that also created some really good gameplay for us to watch, because then we saw the Jackals do almost the same thing to the Leviathan's rear formation. So overall, I was very pleased with what I saw. The gunnery on both sides in the beginning was very good. But yeah, it really comes down to those tactical decisions about what do we shoot at and what do we focus on. And absolutely, the Jackals could have done a bit more of a good job with prioritizing those targets.
But to be very fair, like we talked in the beginning about tactics, right? About how Atticus wanted to employ envelopment and so on, and you said they're adaptable. So I know he told me yesterday, oh, we have this and this many plans already, backup plans in case the first one doesn't work, or in case the wind's against us, or in case the enemy
Okay.
surprises us. But yeah, the envelopment really didn't pan out, right? Not
Yeah, we
well.
didn't see that
Well,
materialize in the way
Killam
that we
tried
thought it
it,
would.
in the first they tried, then they aborted that basically to reform the line. Then Killam tried it again, but he got repulsed, more or less, or
Yep.
didn't get
Yep.
close enough because they
Once they
all
were at the
turned on him.
wall, when those
Yeah,
three ships turned
yeah,
out and focused fire on him, yeah, it really went against him, honestly.
yeah, and Treehouse got stuck for an eternity trying to sink that other raid gun there.
Yeah, it
He,
really
he
went
was
back on him.
right in its rear. I don't know what happened there, honestly.
There were
They
two
just have a
ships on
lot of
there.
HP. Yeah,
For most of
yeah,
that time, there were two ships firing into that ship, and
yeah.
it would
It
not go
just
down.
no, that was
Amazing,
I don't know
amazing.
what happened there.
It must have been a crazy boarding action. Honestly, there must have been
There
boarders
was
going back and forth between those things like mad to have that endure for so long. Um, yeah, and so Warble, do you have any kind of major takeaways from what the state of the league is after this? And what do you think? You're the statistician guy here. Where does this put the Leviathans when you think in contention for the number 1 or number 2 slot in the league?
Well, Leviathans now have 4 wins and 1 loss, which is basically required to potentially win this league now.
Yes. They definitely did what they
We
came to do today, which is win.
Yes, which is exactly. So the let's see, the Krakens are the other ones who are still in the cards to have also a 4-1 score. They are fighting next week against the Royal Black Fleet, who are also not the league's strongest fleet, though they have 2 wins under their belt. So they suppose the Kraken win next week, then both of them have 4 wins and 1 losses, Leviathans and Kraken. Leviathans now have a positive points difference of
Like 55,000, somewhere around there, right?
yeah, 56,000, I believe. 55,800 or something. And the Krakens are at 36,000. So they basically need
Like a 20,000, yeah, like a 20,000 win.
point win next week against the Royal Black Fleet to still win this league.
It's not out of the question, but that's
which is
tall
possible. We
order.
had several over 20,000 wins actually,
and the Krakens have been amongst those.
and the
20,000.
Krakens have been 2 out of the 4 wins that went above 20,000 points difference.
Yeah.
So they definitely know how to do it.
Yeah.
But
it's all in their hands now.
That's the outlook, basically. Yeah. So it depends on the Kraken's performance next week. If they do very well, they may still win this preseason, but the Leviathans are currently favored. Let's say Leviathans have had positive points for all their matches, even for their loss round. Right. So yeah, that's that.
Amit, I would love if you would speak to our admirals and maybe ask them some of the questions that are in your mind. I feel like I do tend to talk a lot during these broadcasts, and so I'd love for you to maybe speak to Katsub and do his little exit interview today and find out what happened.
No problem. So Katsub, you're coming into this battle with a win from your previous match just 2 weeks ago. That must have been a great feeling for you guys. I was very happy. I mean, I interviewed you with Sabo Cheeses at that time. I want to know, because the Leviathans, they currently are at the top of the standings. It is something that is in your mind. How did you prepare for this battle? How did you feel coming into it? And what was your plan for the opening?
Well, for the opening, we didn't really have the. It was kind of like always because not that I did perceive the Leviathans as the main threat. Kind of, as you said, they are the top of the score, so I knew that this is going to be a hard battle. But when it comes to the tactics, like, yeah, I've had some initial plans. I've shared them with my crews. But during the battles, it's just like always, like you have to adapt to the situation. And we pretty much did that during this battle. Like my initial plan for the maneuvers and plan of the battle, like kind of worked, but not to the full extent. And yeah, we've had some trainings as always, especially the gunnery. The gunner, the gunnery trainings, because that was something that we were kind of lacking. And yeah, and today's battle, it was a really interesting one. And well, did I tell you before that I'm allergic to walls?
Yes, you have many
Basically,
times
like
today.
I should listen to myself. I
Well,
think.
for a good portion of that battle, you guys did manage to, at least in the beginning, it clearly it was you wanted to be the ones to start doing the engaging first, based on your formation. I do want to ask though, when that lead eight gun from the Leviathans that was captained by Amjugan came in and he just jammed himself between two of your eight gun ships and just kept rolling. What were your thoughts when that was happening? Is that something that you could have ever anticipated?
Yes, that's exactly what I've expected, to be honest. But
Oh, okay.
then our maneuvers kind of went to shit because one of our eight gunners wasn't able to put itself into the position. Uh, I don't quite remember the situation. Like I don't have the photographic memory,
Oh
so
yeah, a lot was happening.
sorry for not citing it exactly as it happened. But I used that situation to kind of delay the two ships of the Leviathans that were you know kind of behind, so like we could engage the rest of the enemy fleet. Those, it was like 13 gunner and two 8 gunners, if I remember correctly, with the rest of our fleet. So we had the numerical advantage. We've managed to sink two ships, if I remember
Yep.
well,
Yep.
but we've lost the 13 gunner, and that
Mhm.
was my mistake, because I think that, like, from the perspective I have right now, during this wall engagement, maybe I should pull back the 13 gunner, to kind of spare it for the rest of the battle. And I didn't do that because at the time I was thinking we need this firepower uh,
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
main
those lead.
admiral flagship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we did notice that there was a lot of good incoming fire coming into that lead Leviathan eight gun. But you're absolutely right. In retrospect, um, it definitely was putting your own 13 gun in a bit of a predicament there. Was that the
If
moment that you realized that? Did you know at that point that it was like that oh shit moment? I've screwed up, or did it take a little bit longer to kind of realize? I mean, you still had the 13 gun up until you got up to the wall. Um, so
Yeah, and
was that the
kind of
defining moment for you?
that's kind of self-explanatory for me. I think,
Okay.
you know, with the wall situation. But yeah, like being serious right now. Right after we sank this 8 gunner, I should pull the 13 gunner back, you know, to kind of give it a moment of rest, get
Right.
the second broadside of it, which was, I think it was like in a bit better shape. It had more guns, so we could make a better use of it, I think. But like still, the rest of the crew performed quite well, especially on that 1 8 gunner, which basically stopped the two of the other ships, like this battle with on this small island, you know, the
Yeah.
porting stuff. It was very hard
Yeah.
for our crew to, you know, kind of block two of these ships, but for the time they managed to do this.
Oh yeah,
and
they did held out very long.
Just
and
by surviving, they kept those two ships
yeah,
with
Yeah,
them
and
for
that's
so
right.
long. It
and
was amazing.
that was their task, to survive, to delay them as much as they could. But in the end, uh, well, simply something didn't quite clicked, you know, with this, especially with this wall situation. Like we've had the firepower on our side. Uh, Still, like Leviathans have one of the best, if not the best, gunners in this league. So maybe this is the reason we lost. Probably because, yeah, like what else can I say? Basically,
Yeah, no worries. No worries at all. I mean, you've explained
still,
yourself very,
still,
very
I
well.
think that was a great battle, and well, we could. I do believe we could sink the third ship. Like this, one of the 8 gunners was like barely, you know, holding itself together.
Yep.
So, and I remember that it kind of went away. Like
Mm.
we didn't manage to sink it on time.
Yeah.
If we did, maybe we could sink the fourth 8 gunner as well, because we've had the, you know, 2-to-1 advantage, and the
Yes.
enemy 13 gunner was going against the wind.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Yeah, there was
that
a lot
was,
of time where it was 2v2 8 gunners, like your two 8 gunners versus
yeah,
their two 8 gunners, and you guys had the better of it for most of that time. But that 13 gun behind you was always going to be that sort of
yeah,
that giant.
and when the 8 gunners managed to kind of disengage and,
Mhm.
you know, join the forces with the 13 gunner, it was basically over.
Yeah, and we did wonder why they didn't do that sooner, basically, why they played along with your 2v2 for so long until their lead 8 gun was almost sunk, as you said.
That's right.
They wouldn't have lasted much longer. Um, so I'm one question that I would have, because that kind of ties into my theory why they did that, and we'll ask Atticus later, is what was your strategy with the boats, with the small boats? I do remember, if I remember right, you always took out one gunboat and one rocket boat together, right, from the start.
Not always, but usually.
I mean, like today, like
That was the case
all the
Yeah,
today.
time,
yeah.
you always try to have one gunboat up and one rocket boat up. Yeah, and you did. So, what was their role? What did you tell them?
My idea was to like use them, uh, you know, in support of our main fleet. But I was thinking that we should use the gunboat kind of more defensively and use the rocket boat in the offense,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of split the tasks between them. And there was this moment when we were approaching one of the islands, and I saw the gunboats of the Leviathans like hidden behind the island. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this was one of these situations when I was trying to use the gunboats with the support of our 8 gunners to sink these little boats before they can do any harm to us.
Mm.
Kind of worked, but not to the full extent, because we managed to do a bit of damage to them, but we didn't sink them in time.
Mm.
Still, I don't remember them engaging the rest of our fleet.
No, they don't tend to do that. The Leviathans gunboats tend to just try to keep the enemy's boats out of the fight and win basically the boat v boat fight. And then in the end of the battle, they came in and they sank, I think, the second to last of your ships with the gunboats once they were free because all your boats were sunk. That's kind of their deal.
But
that's kind
still,
of the thing.
it's like I'm not really afraid to lose my gunboats because
No.
sinking the enemy gunboat is like hitting them 3 or 4 times. So it's not, or is it something like that? I don't remember it.
It's not a tremendous amount. They do have pretty
Yeah.
low ship HPs compared to anything
Yeah.
else in the field.
So like even if we have like 2 gunboats attacking our 8 gunners, we are able to sink them. So I wasn't afraid of that. What I was afraid a bit more is the boarding actions because gunboats are much better in those, especially like when you have the rocket boat, shooting some of the rockets just before the action, the melee, and you can, do a bit of damage to the enemy crew if you hit them well. That's actually the thing I was a bit more afraid of. Still, the most of the damage that came to us, I think, was the 13 gunner of the Leviathans.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to the 8 gunners, I think we did a really good job fighting them. Because stopping 2 of them with 1 of ours, then sinking like kind of divide and conquer again, to sink 2 of the gunboat. Sorry, not the gunboats, the 8 gunners that were by the wall. So that worked really well for us. But as I said before, the 13 gunners, it was kind of opposite, and the 13 gunner is much bigger threat than 8 gunner. So
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you very much. I want to personally congratulate you guys. I think that you guys put up an extraordinary battle today. I mean, this was a battle that, certainly in the beginning part, it was anybody's game, and as it developed with the ships crashing into one another, it was exciting. It was climactic. It was aggressive from all sides. There was great maneuvering. And so I think that you leave this battle today with a lot to be proud of your fleet. And I hope that you will continue to battle in the Naval Sports League into next season and continue to improve and bring the excellence that you guys brought today, and continue to fight for glory and honor in the NSL. And we are very grateful for you and your crew for all of your participation in the Naval Sports League. As this is your last battle of the season, I just wanted to make sure I personally thanked you for participating, and just compliments on what a great team you've put together. And thank you guys.
Thank you for organizing this event. This is something it was really fun to be a part of this, and I hope I will be a part of this, in the second and third season and so on. That is, if we managed to, get the numbers, crew and so on.
That's right, and we'll have plenty of meetings about that on the.
One of the unfortunate things about Holdfast is that the player base is kind of dwindling, but I hope that we will manage to bring the numbers in the future seasons as well.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to competing against you and cheering you on, for hopefully many, many more battles to come. And with that, I'd like to turn the conversation over to our victorious Admiral Atticus, who I am very proud to say represented the Leviathans today. And first off, congratulations, Atticus, on a great victory.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get into this thing. I spoiled a little bit for the audience that one of the things that we would have liked to get out of today, but that it was not certainly guaranteed by any means, was an envelopment. And I think there was certainly throughout the first third of the battle, there was the opening opportunity and intention to get something. I think there were moments where you saw it happening, especially at that sort of pill-shaped island that's furthest out. But eventually, I think you decided that it was going to be a line battle up through the center. And that is what took us into sort of the end game there. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what the idea was going into the battle, what you were originally hoping to accomplish, and then what changed and how you adapted?
Well, we sat, we strategized, we had an idea of how we wanted the battle to go. We knew the formation we wanted to take, which came together pretty quickly for something that we hadn't practiced all that great. Always looking rosy, and then the Jackals turned and started going a different direction. Okay, not the end of the world. We'll follow them. Let's follow them, and we'll keep up the plan. What really threw us and gave us and basically we didn't get to follow through on that plan in any way, shape, or form. That plan had to go out the window the second they came into the islands. We didn't expect them to come into the islands, but they did. So we reverted to a plan that wasn't even on the planning board, but a plan that's worked for us in the past. We focused down the 13. We focused the 13, and we threw away 2 8 guns to do it.
I remember the battle against the Seawolves.
It was a tried and test. I don't think it was the Seawolves, but anyway, it was a tried and tested method, and it's what we had to go with. The Jackals, give them their due. They kept us guessing. They kept us. I mean,
Well, let's talk about one of the
climactic.
Let's talk about one of those climactic moments of the battle, which is Amjigan rushing in to a group of 2 8 guns and knocking both of them out of rotation. Was that an order from on high, or was that just Amjigan being Amjigan, as he can be many times in battles?
That was very much Amjigan being Amjigan because his admiral didn't tell him any different.
At one point,
someone said, Amjigan's getting his T-cross and all that, and I hadn't given him any counter order. He stayed on the 13, which was the blast order he was given. A good soldier follows orders, and he did fantastic. And when we saw those 2 stop in front of him, I said, and he said, we both said at the same time, we're going to go straight through them.
And that was the beginning of the chaos.
That was where the chaos started. Now, we knew that Kasub doesn't like a wall fight. So we knew that if we had to go into a wall fight, we'd be happy to take a wall fight, which is where it kind of ended up towards the end of phase 1 of the battle. Yes, one of their 8 guns, I do recall, broke through our lines and got tangled up on an island. And it did delay our rearguard 8 guns for a bit longer than we would have liked. I think we could have had the 13 gun down a bit faster if that hadn't have happened. But hindsight, that actually did us a favor. It did us a favor because it reduced the amount of incoming fire once their 13 gun was down. Because my biggest fear was, okay, their 13 guns down, now all their 8 guns are going to turn on mine. And then Mr. Amjigan led a boarding action which took control. I think it was Amjigan. He was the one who told me about it. He said, we've got their 13 and we're sailing it away. I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't know, guys, if you missed that, but yeah.
We did not get that at all.
Oh, for shame. Yeah, they boarded a 13 gun and took it away from the fight. They started driving it towards the sinking 13 gun.
No, you're talking about an 8 gun. Okay, you said 13 gun. You mean an
8 gun? Sorry, 8 gun.
I was about to say, if we missed a 13 getting taken over by...
No, you didn't miss that. The 13 gun stayed pretty...
We did that. That was an aberrant move that we noticed, but we thought that they must have lost cannons on their port side and they were just trying to turn out. But to know that was Jugan who actually got on board, so it really shows that the boarding actions this round were so much more important than I think we've seen in quite some time in the NSL.
Don't talk to me about boarding actions. I got shot in the face, okay?
We
saw
that. We certainly got that on tape.
I mean, you got shot several times, actually.
Yeah, you got shot by cannons, you got shot by... Yeah.
I spent a lot of that game dead. It wasn't fun. But no, so So our plan had gone to smithereens straight away because the Jackals had moved in a way that we didn't imagine or predict. We were ready to re-strategize, but we hadn't talked about full focus on the 13, which is eventually what we did. Once the 13 was gone, we had a problem. Killam was in a bit of trouble.
Yes,
He
very much so.
he'd gotten himself into a great position, but then had to back out of it very, very quickly. Now I heard you guys when you were talking to Kasub talking about why didn't the 8-gun pull out earlier. We pulled him out at the time that both of us agreed was the time for him to come out, because the problem we had, we needed to keep those 2 8-guns interested. We knew we had the lead. We knew if we lost Killam, we'd still have the
We'd have still had the 13 gun.
We'd have won because of the 13, but I didn't want to lose Killam. I didn't want to lose that boat.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to get the 13 involved again because we were still just over half health, I think.
Yeah, you can.
And
you're 13.
And so as we were moving up, we had Seawolf on the carronade just pounding their rear 8-gun. But what the other 2 8-guns were doing was luring them back towards the 13 gun. That was the plan, to lure them into the 13 gun, and it did eventually work. We had a bit of situation. The situation changed a little. All their gunboats went down. That could release the gunboats to harry and harass.
It seemed like Killam breaking away really did coincide with that moment where the gunboats came down. It was very similar timing.
It wasn't planned, but it all happened all at the same time, pretty much at the same time, as you say. So it worked very much in our favor, and then it was just a case of whittling them down. Then we identified which one was the weaker ship, focused that, and then set up, and we got an envelopment at the end. But it's not how to envelop 1 8-gun when you're 3.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well, you got that at the end.
They just slid in there. Like, you didn't envelop them, they just
they enveloped themselves. So I want to rewind a little bit back to when you guys got to the wall, because there was a moment where I could have seen some serious peril on your end, and I wondered what your thought process was there. Maybe you were out of range and I just couldn't see it because I was the overhead camera today. So there was the point where you had lost your first 8-gun. You had 2 8-guns on that 1 8-gun on the island, and it was you and 1 8-gun against what appeared to be a 13-gun and 3 8-guns. I was personally shocked that the Jackals did not focus fire 4 ships on your 13-gun. Were you out of range of those 8-guns at that moment, where it was just you and the 8-gun? It's like this is pre-sinking the enemy 13-gun. Because it looked like they were all the 8-gun was like offset and in front of you a little bit, I think, and so it was taking a lot of the damage for you. I was shocked to see that the Jackals did not focus on you, because I think they could have chopped you down like a tree at certain parts of that, like if they had all had range and rotation. Was that something that you were not worried about at that moment?
I wasn't particularly worried about that. We'd made the decision and we had to stick with it. It was everything on the 13. They were in range of me because once the 13 went down and our 2-gun went down, they started hammering my ship. But the catalyst to the decision was the fact that I had it on good authority from at least Killam's ship behind me. I'm not too sure on Treehouses. He relayed that he had put a lot of damage into the 13. I knew the guys in front had put a lot into the 13. I knew my ship had put a lot into the 13. We could see, even from a distance, I could see the damage along their sides. So there was no regardless of what was shooting at me, we had to sink their 13-gun. Their 13 had to go at that point. And that's what happened. Then Killam broke loose again of that 2-gun. The other thing that happened was that 8-gun, the errant 8-gun of the Jackals, actually ended up with no cannons. And I got a call from one of the decks.
That's why you got split out before. Okay, because we were wondering, because Treehouse, like I'm sure Warble was about to say, we watched that ship get it was at nothing. It had almost no HP left, and then our ships broke off from it, and they just let it be, and that's because it was completely defanged.
It had no cannons whatsoever. I got the call and said, "Yeah, okay, leave it. Let's go. It's a floating husk." And the 13
you finish it off.
The 13 gun sunk it when it looked like it was coming in for to just charge, which is all it could really do, and it's what I would have done with the 8 gun if I was in the captain of it. And by that point, we'd lost enough that we could double man either side, and it was just okay, man both sides, shoot the 8 guns either side.
Yes. Nice.
And then shortly after that happened, their rear 8 gun went down, and to be honest, at that point, I knew we'd won.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
at that point,
they
it
had
was
an
sort
shot,
of,
right? Yeah.
it was a bit inevitable. Amit, you have any questions for our victorious admiral?
Not necessarily. I've just been sitting and listening because everything I would have asked has been asked. So I'll leave it at that.
All right.
All I
Warble,
was
any...
looking to get out of
Okay,
this
sorry.
interview was hearing what Atticus was going to say, because there was so much that we talked about and so much we commented on. We're like, oh, why didn't they do this? Why didn't the timing match up here? And Atticus, you've done an amazing job explaining, okay, this was happening at this time, and here was going through my mind and walking us through it. Because I mentioned this 2 weeks ago when we were when I was with Sabo doing the interviews for the match, the previous Jackals match, and um, we had thought about it and we were thinking, that's not how I would do something. But then we sat there and we interviewed them and realized, oh, okay, there are reasons for why people did what they did. And as always, you've very well articulated what it is that you wanted to do and when you were going to do it. So thank you very much.
Everybody sees something different on these battlefields. Everybody saw these battle waves. Everybody sees something different. Everybody sees something that plays to one of their strengths. And today, yeah, I played into our strengths.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great victory. Definitely one to be proud of, and catapulting the Leviathans into what I'd say is a very comfortable first place finish for the season. That's not out of the question that the Krakens could come on their battle, which I believe is next week, and absolutely blow out the Royal Black Fleet, Warble?
It is.
Yes.
It's not out of the question that they could get a 20,000 plus point victory over the Royal Black Fleet, in which case then the season is theirs. But nonetheless, I want to thank you, as I have thanked Katsub, for not only your participation as an admiral in the times that you have, but to put so much of the hard work you put in behind the scenes, organizing, directing, and overall, being a big brain behind everything that we do here at the Naval Sports League. And I think you finished our season off with a wonderful victory. So I'm very grateful to you personally. And of course, in my capacity as a commentator, thank you very much for a great battle. That was really fun to watch.
I would like to thank the captains who put up with Mr. Indecision over here today. I'd like to thank the gunboats who I didn't get to see enough of. The first time I noticed the gunboats was when they came through and said, yep, all Jackals gunboats are down. And
that's how they do
excellent.
it. You don't even have to pay attention to them on the Leviathans.
We had a few manning issues early on. I'd like to thank all the mercenaries, by the way. Every mercenary to a man was fantastic. Every single one of them. There's one person in particular I'd like to not thank, and I hope he's watching right now. Banana, thank you for nothing.
Friggin' Banana. I'd like to officially say on the record in the NSL, Banana disappoints me on a daily basis, but this was a big one. This was a big one.
And I'd also like to say that it's really nice to be the only Leviathans admiral with a 100% win ratio.
Oh. well. I can only commend you on your 100% victory record. Only admiral in the Leviathans to be able to make that claim at the end of the preseason. Well done, sir, and thank you.
I'm going to pay for that later.
Thank you for throwing that in my face right here, right now, live on stream in the Naval Sports League.
Gunnar made me do it. Gunnar made me do it.
No, that sounds like a Gunnar idea.
No, it was. Thank you guys for giving us this this opportunity to play this format. It's a refreshing format. I know, a lot of work goes into it, but it's a lot of work from everybody, not just the guys organizing. It's the guys who show up weekend. It's the mercenaries. It's the admirals. It's every other team. And Kasub, it was a great game today. And at one point, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. You guys gave us one hell of a fight, so thank you for that.
Yeah, great game for me as well. Even though I was a bit sick. So.
Yeah, that's right. Just everybody should know that Katsub has a fever and he is not feeling well. Not to say that influenced the battle in one way or the other, but if it has to be said, so that later on he could say, "Well, I only lost because I
I've
had a
actually
finger."
felt a bit better during the battle, so yeah.
That's it. It got your blood pumping a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, kind of. Maybe.
Well, good. We all hope you feel a lot better, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna pass it over to Warble to do our final thanks because inevitably I always miss somebody and he won't.
Oh,
So.
yeah. No, I always miss someone, but you usually don't notice because it happens in the stats after the battle. I always get slapped around because I inevitably forget someone there. All right. With this, our the first of the last 4 battles in this preseason, we have next week coming up a battle of the Royal Black Fleet versus the Kraken team. Same time next week's Friday, Sunday, the
No.
24th.
Is that
No?
is that next week? No, is it Thanksgiving
Kraken
this week?
against Royal Black Fleet is 24th.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
Yep. And then after that, there's a week break. And then on the 8th of December is then the next match. So yeah, the break is between next week and the match after that.
Gotcha.
Right. So Krakens versus Royal Black Fleet is the next one. Right. So thank you first of all to our admirals once again for being here for the post-game interviews. Thank you to all the players of both teams and all the mercenaries. As was already said, without you all, well, there wouldn't be any matches. So great fighting, everyone, and have a good night. Resting assuredly that you did a good job on both teams. Right. Mm-hmm. Thank you to all the captains of both teams especially, and thank you to my co-commentators, or I guess I'm the co-commentator, but anyway, Lemerck and Amit. Thank you both. And then I would like, my goodness, so many people. I would like to thank our correspondents who made all most of the camera work you saw today, who were Muffintop Scout, Wavy, Piet, and Mika. Thank you for your work and making this all a very nice stream to watch. Then I would also, now I need a minute. Not a minute, really, but
I can take over. I'll do a little bit. You tell me if I miss anything. I want to thank Papa Director, Sir, Mr. Dr. Professor, our director today. Excellent work from our directorial staff. I want to thank. I'm sure it was Gunner, but it may have also been Killam who was doing the mercenaries.
Oh, he was mercenaries. Mercenaries was, I believe,
probably Gunner. I'd say probably Gunner, but Killam does it a lot, so we'll thank him anyway. And yes, we had Dumbbell as our sort of judge and rules guy today, and we really thank you for
Arena Manager is
Arena Manager is the title. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for arena managing for us, always keeping us honest here at the NSL, and of course, thank you to you, Warble, for hosting alongside of us. Did I miss anybody? Did we miss anybody?
Yes, Twitch chat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to the Twitch chat. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you guys for joining us. And if you've endured this really, really long list of appreciation, I thank you a second time. And with that, why don't we close shop for today, and we will see you next weekend on week 18 of the Naval Sports League, which will be the Krakens versus the Royal Black Fleet. Like Warble said, right here, same time, same place. See you then, everybody. Thanks so much.
Bye.